The Plant Your Independence Tour is brought to you by Wyffels Hybrids. At Wyffels, we've made a choice to remain independent, a choice to remain farm family owned, a choice to stay American. So when it's time to make your choice, make a statement. Plant your independence. Plant Wyffels.
We kicked off our Wyffels Plant Your Independence Tour last week, where we are tracking planting progress across the Midwest this spring. And this weekend, Michelle Rook is back as she takes us to Northeast Iowa, where Jeff Reints had a record-breaking week of planting on his farm and hopes that will also lead to some record-breaking yields.
Jeff Reints started planting corn at his farm in Northeast Iowa on April 8th.
This is definitely our earliest start.
Reints farms 5,500 acres with area farmer Bruce Swinton and his son Clay, and early field conditions were ideal.
Man, the ground is just perfect, so we've been feeling like we got to take advantage of the conditions that we have.
They strip-tilled PK and a third of their nitrogen before planting corn in the spring. No-till beans are seeded simultaneously, which is a bit of a frost risk for both crops.
We do have beans in ahead of the April 15th soybean crop insurance day, but both planters are running as we speak.
The large amount of ground they farm dictates planting corn and beans together, but he says the risk is also worth the reward.
A lot of times these early beans, we see a 5 to 7 bushel yield bump, especially if we get delayed and you get into mid or late May, or even early June occasionally.
Iowa farmers intend to plant 600,000 more acres of corn this year, and an early spring can often entice even more acres. But Reints stuck with his normal rotation.
Probably the reason why I still have hope for this bean market. Yeah, corn does tend to be a little more profitable, but there's some other factors there. One of them is rootworm control.
Plus, with the soybean processing plant nearby and an ethanol plant across the road, that tips his decision.
We have a heck of a strong market right here in our backyard, so that makes it very, very convenient for us.
Reints says they were half done planting both corn and soybeans before receiving nearly 3 inches of rain over the weekend. He's confident about finishing in early May, which is still ahead of normal and hopefully will give him a leg up if predictions of drought materialize.
This could be a challenging year. But yeah, if you plan for a failure, you're going to have a failure. We planned full production and we'll roll with the punches.
I'm Michelle Rook for U.S. Farm Report.
Thanks, Michelle. And other growers were following throughout the tour also made progress this past week. Ward Hunter in Ogden, Iowa was busy planting when we visited him last week. He says they finished planting corn a week ago, just like he expected. They planted 650 acres of beans before getting some much needed rain that pushed them out of the field. Mike Madsen couldn't hold back and started planting last Thursday.
It looks sunny, 20% chance next few days. I don't see anything that's going to hold us back. So pretty much we'll be 90% corn done by the end of the week.
And moving south and checking in with Brent Johnson in Ashland, Illinois. Last week he told us conditions were right, soils were warming, and he was rolling in central Illinois. And he says they had a big week for planting last week. Before the rains hit last Friday, he said they planted about 1/3 of their corn crop and are 75% complete when it comes to soybeans.
We're probably an anomaly for our area. I'm not trying to slam my entire crop in 10 days, 2 weeks. Takes us longer than that to harvest. And frankly, I like to have a little May corn. Our May corn has been pretty fancy over the years.
Also in Illinois, but north in Knox County, Rod Parkinson says about 75% of his soybeans are already in the ground. Corn is 10% planted.
We talk about perfect conditions, and I'm sure we've had those before. It's just been a while. Yeah. Like last year, the ground stayed a little bit heavy underneath for quite a while until May. And this year it's perfect.
And the only one who hasn't started planting yet is Casey in Whitewater, Wisconsin.
As soon as we get dried out, we'll be rolling. We got a couple 100 acres of nitrogen down last week, and then we got rain and typical equipment issues of breakdowns. So once it dries out, we'll be rolling.
Still to come, a Pennsylvania farmer who's quite the artist, but her art isn't on a traditional canvas. That's From the Farm next.